Hello. Today I wanted to talk to you about some receptors in our brain to better understand every psychedelic every psychosubstances there exists. So let's number them. Today we're gonna talk about first receptors is a dopamine receptor. When you smoke, you know what is the dopamine receptor release feels like. Uh, it is something like focus enhancement, maybe little pleasure. There's big pleasure and little pleasure. There's organs and there's little pleasure. When we use dopamine release, we have this little pleasure. We feel good with ourselves and mainly focus on our job. And you have to know, by the way, that tobacco is very addictive in every way. Smoked, snort, snus, uh, and why? Because our brain is like other person there is another person here, and he's very lazy. He's very lazy, and he tells us, "Oh, I see you have this fantastic cigarette. So you know, I don't want to rise pull down this level of this reception. So let's 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 pretend from now that you're gonna do it, you know, and, you're ending up with smoking one after another cigarette because he just quit, and he don't give a fuck about anything, and you just deal with it. Mama told you not to smoke, okay? And we have to talk about one another thing, because in every receptor we have something called agonist, antagonist, and there are two types of these two things, because we can release uh, receptor, we can also block this receptor from releasing, and we can uh, do something like, I call it like we have in our bathroom we have a thing, and we can clock it, and we can open it. Okay, when you open it for bigger rain, bigger flow, this is release. And when you choke this is something called something called selective inhibition of uh, of because when you tap out of our thing in our thing, and it goes back, and when you chop it, it don't go back, it is in our sink, and we feel the the level which is in our sink, so we can rise this level, and it always be filled with water. But when we choke it, it will go up. And it is very important to know the rule. So when we have inhibitor of release, inhibitor, we have riser of release. We just open the sink. The please tell me with that. Yeah. And when we have a reuptake inhibitor, we just clock this our sink, and we don't let out our released, for example, dopamine. And it is important because we can only chop, so don't flow. The flow is not getting bigger, and we can only get bigger our open our thing for flow to come, and don't choke it. Or we can also open and choke it, okay, and we can also close it and unchoke it. So for next time I will talk about serotonin receptors, uh, and we have to also talk for the, I don't know how it's called, uh, to talk about everything that the precursor of dopamine is L-dopa. Okay, but it also can be, dopamine can be also released by serotonin releaser. Okay, by serotonin, and by, but it had to be a 5 third type of serotonin, because I will talk about it later in another episode, that the serotonin, this these receptors have these are like mothers with bags with goods in hospital. They talk, they go one another, and sometimes they bring something good or bad somewhere else that they shouldn't. And you have to know that dopamine is never, level of your dopamine receptors are practically never bad, because they can be released also by certain and another agents. Uh, so remember that when you will have somehow too small dopamine levels, you have to supplement L-dopa, because dopamine won't go up by a barrier of brain blood barrier. We won't go. You have to bring L-dopa to brain, and brain have to make from L-dopa dopamine. Okay. Uh, so so next time I will talk about serotonin. Uh, chill out.